It's a pretty active weather pattern. It's going to get even more active. I'm meteorologist Brian Ivy here, breaking the pattern down. We're going to get actually clipper to death. One little guy here. How about another one? Everybody gets clippers here across portions of the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, back into the Northeast. These are going to be systems that drop generally a coating to maybe half of an inch or so. No major disruptions overall, but just nuisance snow. Watch this guy. It's going to be a little bit more beefy entering the scene coming out of Alberta, Canada as we go in towards early portions of next week. We are going to track this through Monday and Tuesday across much of the Midwest through the East. It's going to be a moderate size impact storm, not a major winter storm, but a little bit more interesting than just those little clippers. The American model takes it just like this and then loops it back up into Ontario. As a big lobe of cold Arctic air comes down, it's going to kind of follow the path of least resistance and go back up that way. The European model is a little bit different, but also very similar for a modeled track this far out before the storm. And then the Canadian model is almost kind of in between those two, and those are the three main models that we use in this time frame. So very good agreement overall. So we're looking at decent impacts in spots, a lot of a moderate impact in the main corridor, and that's going to be across Minnesota, Wisconsin, back in towards Iowa, much of Ohio, back in towards the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast as well. And then high areas of impact where we expect probably a good confidence in a half a foot of snow or more as of right now. Maybe Syracuse, back into the Buffalo region. Portions of southern Michigan have a chance at that. Also southern Wisconsin. So we'll keep an eye on that situation. Still a long time to kind of adjust things, but I think this will be a general 3 to 6 inches in the main corridor and then a narrow area that's going to overperform over that. As of right now, again, this comes in early next week, so we got some time to adjust. Here's what it's going to look like when it's streaming on in. You'll see that system here develop a little bit nicely compared to the typical clipper. It's going to have a little bit more energy and southern moisture with it as it moves across portions of Illinois, Chicago, and Michigan, and much of Indiana and Ohio. The southern flank of that system could have a little bit in the way of some mixed precipitation, maybe some rain mixing in at times. The Ohio Valley will get on some back-end snow, some really cold air enters in. But as this tracks off towards the northeast, you can see a wide area of moderate snow falling for several hours. And then as the cold air comes in, there you go, lake effect snow really starting to develop at that point. The Great Lakes in spots could be pretty active and honestly add up a very decent amount. It's going to be in localized areas in the snow belt. That system will finally end, and we're not going to get into as much of a huge clipper pattern because it's just going to be really, really cold. We're going to talk a little bit about the cold here in just a second, but I think the lake effect will get going due to all the instability, but also it's not going to have a ton of moisture to work with, so something to keep an eye on. Here's the general look of the snow coming on in. You can definitely see it adding up across portions of the Great Lakes and other areas to a little bit of an extent, but here's the main system. Don't focus exact on the numbers, but this is the general track of it, and it's definitely going to leave a mark over a fairly widespread area. Here's some signs that once it gets up into the northeast, particularly New England, that it could drop some much heavier amounts as it really just combines with more moisture off of the Atlantic. We'll see. We'll watch all of those different things at this point, but generally looking at a pretty good swath of snow as we go through the beginning into the middle of next week, and then the big cold cometh. Here you go. This is the overall temperatures going through the next couple days. Multiple just batches of really cold air starting to reach south. All these purplish colors here are very cold temperatures, just a little bit aloft off the ground. A lot of that's mixing down. You'll see multiple waves there. The main shots coming later next week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Those whitish colors through the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, Midwest into the Northeast. That's extreme cold, the coldest we've probably had in a few years. And that was record-breaking cold back then. So we're probably going to be breaking some records. Again, it looks like it. Back to the west, not really a big wintry deal. So good news for you guys if you don't like winter out in the Rocky Mountains or anything like that. But we are talking dangerous cold, extreme cold for sidewalk crews, for any kind of operations that involve outside work and construction and stuff like that. This is extremely dangerous. This is pipe bursting weather. And this is what we call our Barney colors here. It's actually maxing out the map. That's how crazy this actually is. We go down to -48 degrees below normal on that map, and we're there. We're talking about temperatures really, really, really cold. Can't stress that enough, and that'll be something covered over the next few days. Some models have wind chill values like -50, -60 degrees in portions of the United States. That is hard to do, and even if the models are 10, 20 degrees too cold on that, still some pretty significant cold, no doubt. So very active weather pattern, very wintry. See a little bit of everything except for any sustained warmth, that's for sure. Thanks so much for checking out the video, and take care.